How you doing, Craig? Man, I'm tired, Craig. Tired. It's a long weekend, not enough sleep, but we out here. Anyways, welcome back to the Believe Me You Don't podcast, where we show up sometimes. You know, whether it be myself, other people, or not. Tonight it'll probably just be me. Gonna be talking about Gamescom 2025. We'll see how long I last. Probably won't go into depth about everything. Just give my my thoughts on the games that were shown and everything like that. Mainly talking about Gamescom opening night live 2025. That's where they show off the major trailers. Obviously, it's like a whole convention in Cologne, Germany, and they have several days showing off tech demos and other smaller games and stuff like that. But the opening night live one, which was last week, they talk about some major releases, and it's kind of an odd spot of when they do this convention because it's the end of summer. We've already had Summer Game Fest, and it's not holiday yet, so it seems like a lot of people don't show off their big stuff because it was shown at Summer Game Fest. But there were some newer things here. I'm sure most people are going to wait to show off their stuff at Tokyo Game Show and mainly Game Awards in December, for 2026 and stuff. So, anyways, I tried to find an article about what was shown exactly in order, but it's very hard to find that for some reason. I didn't get to watch it live. It was during work time, and obviously it was nighttime over there when it was daytime over here. So, I went back and rewatched it and stuff like that. So I was just going to talk about some of the games that are on this list and just give my thoughts. So, they did have a pre-show that talked about smaller games. I don't see it on this list that I have, but some of them are pretty good. Like I said, I don't think this is in order. Honestly, the game trailers look in order. However, there was interviews done, and there was a couple TV shows. So I'll go ahead and get those out of the way. The two TV shows that were shown was Fallout Season 2 coming in December. Looks amazing. I can't wait for that. They're going to New Vegas, and if you played Fallout New Vegas, I never played that. However, I know it is highly regarded as one of the best Fallouts in the series. But Season 1 was awesome. I can't wait for Season 2. There's teasers. Obviously, this whole thing is kind of spoiler, but I don't know why you would consider it a convention spoiler. But regardless, in the trailer they showed the Death Claw, and that's one of the most iconic enemies in Fallout. I can't wait to see how well it looks and how it interacts with the characters and stuff. So the other one, which was a super surprise, but I think there had been some talks or teases about it. Sekiro is getting an anime. It's called Sekiro No Defeat. Game of the year, like 3 or 4 years ago, made by FromSoft. One of my favorite games, and definitely one of my favorite From Software games. It looked amazing. I absolutely can't wait to watch it. I don't have Crunchyroll, so we'll have to see if America will let me borrow his, and I can watch it whenever it comes out. I think it's 2026, so definitely looking forward to that. So, and then starting with the trailers, it's odd because the last big gaming, I wouldn't say convention, I don't know what you necessarily call them, but it ended with Call of Duty Black Ops 7 and just a teaser, and that's what made the show even worse because it ended with that. A lot of people were as soon as it popped up, we're like, oh man, this looks really cool. And then it's like Call of Duty Black Ops 7 and just, yeah, looked terrible. They shouldn't have ended with that. Luckily, they started the main show with a trailer for Call of Duty Black Ops 7. It looks great. It's another Call of Duty. It is getting a lot of hate, and you know, it very well so. Why it should get hate, because it's Call of Duty. Their yearly releases are terrible at this point. Warzone's all I care about, and even then, it's just it's not holding me too much there. But I think we're getting a new big map for Warzone called Avalon. There's something called the Guild that they showed this hub city called Avalon, but I think that's going to be the next Warzone map. It did give Blackout vibes, which is awesome. I wish they would do Blackout again, but they'll never go back to that. So, it's a co-op campaign. It's going to have traditional zombies, from what I hear. Some of the old OG characters are coming back. They're having Dead Ops Arcade, if you're really into that. It's a typical Call of Duty. It seems like it's going to have the whole package. It's just whether, if you wants to stick around for the Call of Duty cycle or whatnot. So, moving on. Something called Swords of Legends. There's a bunch of Asian developers that are cranking out the games in the past 5 to 7 years, and they're mainly sword fighting games. And this one is another one. It looks great visually and whatnot. I'm sure it'll be good. There's just a lot of them in the past, half a decade for whatever reason. I know they're probably trying to catch on to that trend of the Dark Souls or the Souls-like type genre. So hopefully this does well. We got a gameplay trailer for Lords of the Fallen 2. It looks awesome. I didn't play the first one. I know they're basically revamped it a lot. I think Jordan played it a little. Cypher played it, and they thought it was an okay Souls-like game. Hopefully they take what from the first one they learned and then implement it into the second one. So, Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight. If you're into Lego games, I wish I kind of was. The only real Lego games I played back in the day was like Lego Racing on Nintendo 64. Dope ass game. But this, I'm sure, will, tie in the story very well, bring that Lego humor, and the combat looks pretty interesting. So, next we got the biggest, one of the biggest, like, wishy-washy things that people were just waiting for. Hollow Knight Silksong finally got a gameplay teaser, and it is confirmed coming. It wasn't shown at Opening Night Live. However, they did their own thing last Thursday. They got a release date of September 4th this year. So after 8 years, the next Hollow Knight is finally coming, and obviously a lot of people didn't want to believe it. Jordan himself included, didn't think it was real with all the rumors and whatnot. He's still hanging on to think that it's not real, and even though the trailer or the release date says September 4th, it's not coming out. So I downloaded Hollow Knight on my PS5. If I had enough time, I would probably try to play it. I'm not sure if I would like it. I know a lot of people do, so I hope it does well. Warhammer 40K Dawn of War 4 got a reveal trailer for 2026. It's another Warhammer game. Never really been into them. It competed with WoW for so many years, but it got overshadowed by WoW. So, but it looks cool. Monster Hunter Wilds and Final Fantasy 14 are doing a crossover where each one gets they're bringing in a monster from one or the other, and you're getting a chocobo in Monster Hunter, and then I think you're getting a secret in Final Fantasy 14. I think that's how it works. So Capcom and Square always do cool crossovers. So I hope it does well. We got another trailer for Onimusha, Way of the Sword. Looks great. It's a basically a remake of one of the original games from I think it's early 2000s. I never played the game, but it looks great. Skipping over some of the ones that necessarily didn't care for. Indiana Jones is getting, I think, its last DLC September 4th. So good for it. John Carpenter's Toxic Commando. I think it's trying to give this 80s vibe of Expendables. It looks over the top, but I'm sure some people will play it. We don't even talk about World of Tanks. Ninja Gaiden 4 got a trailer, like a story trailer. It's coming out October 21st. Looks cool. Never really played the Ninja Gaidens. I heard they were hard as shit back in the day. So, Silent Hill F got a story trailer, and it's releasing September 25th. That's another game I never really could get into on the PS1, PS2 era. I stuck with Resident Evil, but I know there is an audience for this game for sure. So, Chronos: The New Dawn, they did a cool thing where like I think it was a statue or something that came out on stage. It looks cool. So, Outer Worlds 2 got in a companions trailer talking about what is going to come to the game when it comes October 29th. I wish I would go back and play the first Outer Worlds because this is the Obsidian who made New Vegas back in the day. And I hope Outer Worlds 2 does great. I hope they build upon it, the first one. I know it was received well, but there was definitely some room for improvement. And they're going out of their way to do a lot of things, I think, to make this game really good. So, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, I think that's the Battle Royale thing that Donkey and I played a couple years back. Maybe I could be wrong. I don't know. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is getting a DLC for September 9th. Cult of the Lamb is getting a DLC early 2026. And then a big one was the World of Warcraft Midnight trailer. And there was a lot more shown off at Gamescom for the expansion, talking about player housing. There's going to be 3 raids apparently at the beginning. That's insane. I don't know how World First is going to work with that. But that's awesome. I'm glad that they're putting in that content. I think delves are returning. I'm having fun playing WoW right now still. It is getting a little, chore based to me, but it's keeping me occupied in between like Call of Duty and any other game. So the trailer looked awesome. Void, and you're going back to like the home of the Blood Elves in Silvermoon City. That was when they came into play in BC. It was cool, but like no one ever went to Silvermoon. You couldn't fly there. I hope to God that they correct that. It's going to remain a main Horde city where only Horde can go to certain parts, but Alliance will be there because it's going to be the hub of Midnight. That's awesome. Like the Ghostlands is getting revamped. Zolomon apparently is getting its own place, which is great. Zolomon was one of my favorite raids back in the day, the 10-man. Obviously, they made it into a 5-man and stuff like that, but I look forward to that. And then it's also giving the other 2 zones give me Netherstorm vibes from BC and what's the Underbog place? Oh, I cannot remember. Hold on. Underbog. Zegner Marsh It's giving Zinger Marsh vibes, which is awesome. So all 4 zones look phenomenal. And like I said, they're giving BC vibes, which is one of the best expansions in my opinion. I hope they in Xalatath. I don't keep up with the lore. It's impossible to. She looks awesome. I don't know if she'll be the actual end boss of the ad expansion, because this is like a 3 expansion saga supposedly. So I don't know if she's going to be the end boss or she'll be the end boss of the 3rd. So coming out next year. Looks cool. We'll see if I have time to dive into it when it first starts up. It was really cool to start when I started again last month. I started at the end of one of the patches and it was kind of like, ramped up, and now starting into this new patch, it's slowed down a lot. So we'll see if I start at the very beginning of the expansion or what. So, Inzoi, I don't know what the freak that is. They got a DLC. Ghost of Yote got another trailer, but it also got a teaser of Legends mode, which I guess is a DLC, but it's like a multiplayer thing. So I know a lot of people are hype about that. Another freaking World of Tanks. I don't even know how people, I've never met anyone in my life that plays World of Tanks, but they clearly have an audience. So we got another pretty big trailer for Resident Evil Requiem. It was a little bit of gameplay. It shows off the seamlessness of going from a cutscene to gameplay, which the Resident Evil or the RE engine does phenomenal. So I look forward to playing that when it comes out in February 2026. So, and then the last thing they showed off before Gamescom Opening Night Live ended was the next installment of the Black Myth Wukong series. I guess they're trying to do Journey to the West with ancient Chinese mythology, which is really cool. I kind of need to go back. I need to give it a try. I heard it done well. They should have released it on Xbox from the get-go, and it would have done even better. But it finally, I think, did release on Xbox this month or last month. So, this one's called Black Myth Zong Kui, I believe. It's an evil person. They can command 80,000 demons. So, and he's walking out, or he's riding a massive tiger. It looks dope as shit. I hope this continues to do well and they continue all these games and get them all out and they all connect and stuff. So, but yeah, that was obviously I skipped over a few games that were shown, that ones that I didn't necessarily care about. But those were the biggest highlight ones. And then one of the other things that did happen during probably the middle of the show, they had a performance by the two of the musicians for Claire Obscure. They did Alicia. Oh my god, it was phenomenal. That game continues to, it'll always live in my head and my heart. But mainly like for gameplay and story and everything, but the music is phenomenal. And a live performance of this was even better. So we'll see come December 11th for Game Awards what it does. I truly hope it gets the recognition it absolutely deserves. But yeah, I think this Gamescom was pretty good. The podcast that I do listen to, they always talk about how Gamescom is just, it's a weird thing. Like I talked about earlier, it falls in between, Summer Game Fest and the Game Awards, and it's right there at the end of summer. And game developers aren't really ready to show off their 2026 stuff until later in the year, of November, December stuff. So they normally don't have big things. And I think this Gamescom was a little bit above average with what they showed off. Um, so yeah, I will end it there. I'm glad I was able to get up, not even the courage, the strength, the energy level to do an episode. Like I told them, I'll try to do an episode every week. I don't care if it's with them, with myself, or whatever. I want to get back into it. It is fun. And just a shout out, this is, it was a couple days ago, but it is our third year doing this podcast. You know, I know the content isn't consistent, but it was always just a fun thing to do between friends. And I hope we continue to do that. We definitely have ideas of episodes. It just comes down to mainly me motivating myself to get on. So wanted to hop on. Yes. So shout out to year 3 of the podcast. Shout out to my son. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to our dog. But yeah, we'll continue to do episodes whenever we can. And remember, you can continue to believe us if you don't. Peace.